Here we have a 2003 zinc yellow Mustang Mach 1. This car just sold at the Mecum auction for $52,800. This particular Mach 1 has 644 miles on it, so pretty low miles. You can see the engine bay looks very clean, completely stock. Notice the black valve covers. Those were 2003 only. Ford only went to the raw aluminum ones in '04 for the Mach 1 for cost reasons, so the '03 does have that as an advantage in my opinion. Going inside the car, you can see it's in fantastic shape, basically brand new. This is what you might call a wrapper car because it still has the plastic on it, although I don't think it's technically classified as a true wrapper car. A true wrapper car would have minimum miles, maybe 5-10 miles on it, and it would still have all the stickers on the windows outside. It would still have the plastic on the bumpers. It would still have a lot of the pre-dealer prep things. Now there are some indications that this car was picked up as a non-dealer prep car. I do think it's cool that they kept the plastic for the seats, even though it doesn't seem to have all of it. And looking at the front of the car, you can definitely tell that it did not have drill holes for a license plate bracket on the front, and I think that was a great decision. There were 869 of these made in zinc yellow in 2003, and that was a 2003 only color for the Mach 1. 2004, they changed to screaming yellow, and so zinc yellow Mach 1s were only in 2003 and screaming yellow were only in 2004. Looking inside, you can still see some plastic on the door and the plastic on the seats there with the beautiful seats. This plastic covering is nice, but it doesn't seem to have all of it there, and you don't know if this has been removed for them to drive the car around a little bit and then put back on. That's what I assume happened. But the interior is beautiful. You can see there's no sign of armor all or shine on the dash. It's all original. You also can notice that this is an interior upgrade package Mach 1, which most of them were. It has the silver trim around the radio. We'll get to the other pieces of the interior upgrade package as we go through these pictures and see them. And speaking of interior upgrade package for the zinc yellow Mach 1, out of the 869 zinc yellow Mach 1s made, 770 of them had the interior upgrade package. 99 did not. So the non-interior upgrade package Mach 1s are more rare, but they are not as sought after. They're not as appealing. And out of the 869 zinc yellow Mach 1s made, 720 of them were 5-speeds like this one. And so 149 were automatic out of the zinc yellow cars, and so that's making this 1 of 869 in color, 1 out of 770 as far as the interior upgrade package goes, and 1 out of 720 as far as the manual transmission goes. And those are the only options that were offered on the Mach 1, and that is not a breakdown on export or Canadian model cars. So that's a pretty good set of numbers there. Pretty rare car for what it is. So here's a nice shot of the engine bay. It is a little bit dusty in the pictures, but it is all original. As I mentioned before, the 2003 Mach 1s had painted black valve covers, and they look really good compared to the raw aluminum ones on the 2004 Mach 1s. For example, in this picture you can see these valve covers are for a 2004, and they are raw aluminum. They're not painted, they're not powder coated like the Terminator Cobras are powder coated with a nice speckle to them. This is an actual raw aluminum valve cover. And as a matter of fact, the 2003 Mercury Marauder, which shared the same engine as the automatic Mach 1 and the Lincoln Aviator, both had the same 32 valve engine, and it did have the raw aluminum valve covers as you see in this picture. And so that would be a Marauder engine. And so looking at this Mach 1 engine close-up of the valve cover, you can see that it's just kind of a raw color aluminum, and they do stain real easy. They are not very good to look at after a few miles get on them. They get pretty dirty. And I had these on my 2004 Mustang Mach 1, and it was quite a difference, and it did look quite ugly. And Ford did continue with the 3-valve Mustang GTs. They had these raw aluminum covers as well, just the different size and shape for the 3-valve Mustangs. But I find that interesting because the engine bays in the '01 Bullet, the '03, '04 Mach 1s, and the '03, '04 Cobras, and maybe even the earlier Cobras, if I remember correctly, had actual clear-coated engine bays. They actually went to the trouble to paint the entire car, and they actually clear-coated the engine bay because they knew that these hoods would be open at car shows a lot, and that it was to show off the engine bay a little bit more. So to me, it's a little surprising that they decided to not paint the valve covers on the Mach 1s for 2004. So now looking back at this zinc yellow car, you can tell that the hardware in this engine is not faded. I believe it's actually a zinc coating on these bolts. The brass colored bolts there that hold the valve covers to the cylinder head are in great shape. That's something I actually remember looking at when I was looking at these cars brand new in the dealership, and I really like that. I almost lusted after those gold bolts. I thought they looked really nice, and those big cylinder heads looked great. Speaking of cylinder heads, this is a 2003, so it most likely has the 4-thread heads, probably the AG castings, and although we do not know the full history of this car, it is most likely this car never went in for any type of recall. There was a recall for very early 32 valve cars like the Terminator Cobras and the Mach 1s for having valve guide wear and a revision for the head. And this car probably didn't have any of that work done, but judging by what I can see on the window sticker, this car is probably past that time. It looks as though this car was produced in May, which I'm not sure if that's true, but I think that's what the window sticker is showing. Now, the 4-thread spark plug cylinder heads are not a bad thing as long as the plugs are torqued and not over tightened and stripped. They hold up just fine. It is just something that some people really look for because Ford later went to a 9-thread per spark plug cylinder casting, and that's something that's always talked about with these cars. And when people look to buy one, they prefer the 9-thread heads. But this car obviously is not a driver car anyway. It's not like this car will probably ever be driven daily or used a lot, so that really doesn't make much of a difference. And like I said, as long as the maintenance is done right, it is a good set of cylinder heads. Now the early ones might have had some valve guide wear, which would be unfortunate if someone did decide to drive this car and it did have that issue and started tapping. Although the tapping is more of an inconvenience, it really has no issue as seen and heard about later in history of these cars. It is just a nuisance and the sound. But this car being hardly used is only unfortunate in the case that if it did have that problem, it would not be replaced under warranty like it could have been if the car was used and taken to the Ford dealer during that time frame. So we can see such a beautiful engine bay, all original, all stock. It looks like the car has the original Goodyear Eagle F1 tires on there. I'm sure if you looked at the date code, they're probably correct. I doubt they've ever been replaced at 600 miles. Really neat to see. You can tell the tread pattern. You can see the Goodyear and the Eagle F1 writing on the tire. So that's something I always look at when I'm looking at these super low mile cars. And of course, inside the trunk, you have absolutely nothing. Perhaps a little bit of something like a stain in the right section there. Not sure about that, but all original trunk, and there shouldn't be anything with 600 miles. Mach 1 badge on the deck lid. You can tell this car is 100% stock. Note the exhaust with the rolled tips. That is bullet and Mach 1 only. This is a very nice car, and I think its price is reflecting that these cars are sought after and desirable. Where are you going to find another one of these? I have seen a lot of these cars turning up with a lot of rust underneath them. They are getting hard to find in perfect condition, especially like this. I've seen a few surface with very low miles, and I've seen them for sale where people did not buy them. And I think this auction is a case where the right people in the room were there to bid on it, and they drove the bid up. Speaking of bidding, this Torch Red 2003 Mach 1, to my knowledge, was the highest selling Mach 1, and if you can see, there's a fake license plate on the front of this car. It was edited in there. There were no holes in the front bumper of this car, just to make that clear. But this says 6.3 miles. This was the very low mile Mach 1 that had sold previously, and it had sold at a record around $50,000. And this car later sold, it resold again at auction for $30,000. So it dropped a lot. I think the right bidders were not in the room for this car during that point. But this was more of a wrapper car. It does not have the plastic on the bumpers. but it did have more plastic on the seats, more complete plastic than the zinc yellow one that just sold. You can see the steering wheel still has the cover on it with a tag on it. The windows on the side still have the barcode. So this was more of a wrapper car in my opinion, although it wasn't a complete wrapper car, but it was a super low mile, 6 mile car, and it brought in 30,000 at the last bid, but this car did sell for 50,000 at one point. And to my knowledge, that's the highest that a Mach 1 had ever sold for until now, with the zinc yellow selling at 52.8. And the zinc yellow has 644 miles on it compared to this red Mach 1's 6 miles. So that's quite significant. Now, this red Mach 1 was claimed to be 100% original, although the back of the car does have an aftermarket deck lid panel. To my knowledge, that was definitely nothing that was ever offered by Ford except for on the 35th anniversary Mustang GTs, and I don't know why that this car had that on there. The only thing I can think of is the previous owner thought that it really needed it. I believe the story behind this car was that a Ford executive had ordered this car and went up and picked it up right when it was finished being made, and so maybe they just decided that to look more like an original Mach 1 it should have that honeycomb deck lid panel on the back. Now, I've added those to my car. I think they look neat. My Torch Red Mach 1 had one, and my other Zinc Yellow Mach 1 had one as well. And so I think they're pretty neat, but they are definitely not original. And this car being a highly collectible original car should not have that. Now, those are held on by double-sided sticky tape, so it could be taken off. But that was just something that I found very interesting, as this car was for sale and as it went through auction a couple of times that they were claiming it is 100% original, where in that case it would not be, because the original Mach 1 badge would have had to be removed to do that. And the engine bay in this car was quite beautiful. But looking back at the zinc yellow Mach 1, you can see the seats are in fantastic shape. This is a close-up of the driver's seat. These are the Comfort Weave Mach 1 seats, and you can see they have ribbing in them. Most Mach 1s, that ribbing gets flattened, especially on the bottom part of the seat when people sit on it, so it's really nice to see this Comfort Weave looking so nicely on these seats. Obviously, 600 miles, it hasn't been used very much. Some Mach 1s, the back seats still retain that ribbing because hardly anyone sits in the back of Mach 1s a lot of the time, but that is just something that I like that they took a close-up of to show that this car does still have the Comfort Weave perfect seats in it. And here are the interior upgrade package pedals, along with some plastic that says that it's supposed to be removed by the dealer, so that makes me believe that this car was a non-dealer prep car. So here's just another shot of the seats with the window sticker. We'll look at that sticker in a second here. Here's the gauge cluster with 644.1 miles on it. Absolutely beautiful car. You just can't buy a new Mach 1 these days. If you can, it's very hard to find in this condition. And there's a whole debate about keeping a car, not driving it, and we won't get into that today because we have in the other videos. Some people hate it, some people love it. Yeah, the seals are dried out. Maybe it'll leak. Who cares? This car is not going to be a driver car. So here's the window sticker. I really like this, and I'm not sure about this as far as documentation goes, but the very, very bottom last 6 digits look like 051503. I'm not sure if that's an invoice date or if that has anything to do with the window sticker, but if it is, then it looks like May 15th, 2003 was when this car was invoiced. That doesn't mean that's when it was made, but usually it's somewhere around that area, which to me would lead me to believe that the car has decent cylinder heads on it. Not the 9-thread heads, but a decent set of the revision with the blue on them, perhaps underneath by the exhaust manifolds. You could see that if you did look for it. And while we have a close-up of this barcode, you can see above it there's the VIN number of the car. Something I wanted to mention about the Mach 1s that's very special is the 8th digit in is an R as in Romeo, and that is a digit that signifies this as a true Mach 1. Ford did that. I think it's pretty cool. We've talked about it in the past, whether it was a big block option or shaker hood option for the Mach 1s. It was something that distinguished the Mach 1, and they brought that back, and that was the reason why they did that. So no other 9904 Mustangs have the R in the VIN like that. And so looking at the options on the car, there's all the order information on the right. And the only option on this car is that interior upgrade package, $345. The only other option you could have had on the Mach 1 was the automatic transmission. So here we have what I see is a very basic Mach 1, very average Mach 1 is what you would expect to buy. There were no spoiler delete cars, there were nothing like that available on these cars. You either got the interior upgrade package and the automatic or you didn't, and so in this case, having the interior upgrade package and the 5-speed are the most desirable options for the Mach 1, and depending on who you talk to, the color is, in my opinion, a great color for the Mach 1 as well. And looking at the bottom of the sticker, we can see here that the car was originally shipped to the Ford dealership in Cleveland, Georgia, and so that would lead me to believe that this car did not have the block heater, which one is not an option, but it was something that some of the northern cars came with and the Canadian models. So this would be a non-block heater car in my opinion. So very nice car. I really love zinc yellow on the Mach 1. Luckily, I've owned 2 zinc yellow Mach 1s. I currently own 2 Mach 1s now, along with the azure blue. But the yellow Mach 1 is one of my favorite cars. I love daily driving this car. I'm very happy that I get to enjoy daily driving a car that is so desirable. And now you see them coming into the auctions and bringing decent money. I really like to see that. And it's really cool to see that there is an option for somebody to get one brand new, so that's pretty cool. But some of these cars have not been driven like this one has and enjoyed, depending on how you enjoy it. People can enjoy their cars in different ways. They can enjoy just looking at it in the garage and know that it has low miles. Other people can get out and drive them and enjoy them. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. I have several cars that I love to look at and I keep in the garage. I have ones that I do drive a lot. I drive some more than others. I enjoy them all, but the one thing that is for sure is I do daily drive my zinc yellow Mach 1 every day, and I do feel happy about that, and I do get my level of happiness of being able to enjoy a Mustang every day, and that Mustang is a zinc yellow Mach 1, just like this car that was for sale. And even though that other Mach 1 is all original and completely stock and valuable, I love that I've been able to make this car look as good as it does. The tinted windows, lowered a little bit, deep dish rear wheels. Everything about this car is how I think a Mach 1 should look and sound, especially with an aftermarket exhaust. So I'm very happy to have this car and enjoy it every day. So I had to put that in, couldn't end the video without that. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and stay tuned for more Mustang content.